You are watching AI Storytelling, YTS.
Some say the road to the divine passes through light. But in certain corners of India, the divine is reached through darkness. Imagine this, a forest so silent you can hear your own blood rushing through your ears. A lone figure, naked under the moon, chanting in a tongue older than the wind, surrounded by skulls that glisten wet in the firelight. In the shadows, something breathes back. Tonight, I will take you into that darkness to witness the 5 most feared tantric rituals in India. Rituals so secret that even speaking their names is said to invite them into your life. But remember, once the door opens, it doesn't close. It's midnight in Varanasi. The moon is hidden behind a thick veil of smoke. The only light comes from dozens of funeral pyres along the riverbank, each crackling and spitting embers into the dark sky. The smell hits you first, the sickly sweet, unmistakable odor of burning flesh mixed with sandalwood. Dogs skulk along the stone steps, their ribs showing, their eyes glowing faintly in the firelight. The Ganga, normally bustling with boatmen and pilgrims, is now a slow-moving sheet of black ink, its surface broken only by the occasional drift of a half-burnt corpse. You hear faint chants from the upper ghats, priests performing the last rites for the dead. But here, where you stand, the chanting is deeper, more guttural, more dangerous. From the shadows steps a figure, naked save for a loincloth, his body smeared with gray ash taken from a pyre. The ash sticks to his skin in uneven layers, creating the illusion of cracked stone. His hair is matted and tangled, his beard long and clumped. Around his neck hangs a garland, not of flowers, but of human bones strung together with black thread. In his right hand, he holds a human skull, its crown cut open, its hollow interior blackened from use as a bowl. This is an Aghori, one of the most feared ascetics in India. Unlike other holy men who seek God through purity, the Aghori seek God by embracing filth, taboo, and decay, because to them, everything is Shiva. Life, death, flesh, ash, all are one. You see it then, floating in the shallows of the Ganga, a swollen, half-burnt body drifting lazily toward the shore. Its skin is waxy, blistered, and peeling. One arm is missing. The other reaches upward as if still pleading for help. The smell intensifies until your stomach tightens. The Aghori wades into the water without hesitation. His feet sink into the soft mud at the river's edge as he grips the corpse by the hair and drags it onto the steps. He kneels beside the body, smearing more ash over his arms and face. Then, in a voice that vibrates low in your chest, he begins to chant, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. But it's not the soft temple version you've heard before. This is guttural, primal, drawn out until each syllable feels like it's pulling something from the air, something you can't see, but can feel. The Aghori leans over the corpse. His fingers dig into its blackened chest. With a sharp motion, he tears away a piece of flesh, skin, and muscle, still damp beneath the burned outer layer. He holds it up to the moonlight for a moment, as if offering it to the gods, before bringing it to his mouth. The sound is worse than the sight, a wet tearing, followed by the muffled crunch of cartilage. He chews slowly, eyes rolling back, as though tasting something beyond human comprehension. Blood, thick and dark, runs down his chin, mixing with the ash on his skin. He wipes it with the back of his hand, then smears it deliberately across his forehead in the shape of a third eye. For the Aghori, this is not madness. This is moksha, liberation. By eating what the rest of the world fears most, they destroy the illusion of separation between life and death. To them, this flesh is no different from the bread you eat or the water you drink. It is Shiva, Some believe that consuming the flesh of the dead allows the Aghori to absorb the spirit's final energy, granting visions, strength, or supernatural power. Others say it is a way to free the dead soul from the endless cycle of rebirth. And then, you notice it. The air has grown still. Even the dogs have retreated into the shadows. The fire's crackle seems quieter. There is a feeling as if something is standing behind you, breathing down your neck, though you dare not turn around. The Aghori looks up from his feast. His eyes meet yours, and for a moment, you feel as if he sees through you, past your flesh, into the skeleton beneath, into the shadow that will one day be your corpse. He smiles, not with kindness, with recognition. The ritual ends with the Aghori tossing the remaining scraps of flesh into the Ganga. He drinks deeply from his skull bowl, the liquid inside a mix of river water, ash, and blood. Before leaving, he whispers a final mantra into the corpse's ear. It sounds almost like a lullaby, but the words are sharp, cutting. Then, without a backward glance, he disappears into the smoke. The corpse remains where it lies, but in your mind, the chanting will not stop. It is Amavasya, the night of the new moon. The sky is a black, starless void, as if the heavens themselves have been swallowed. In the distance, the faint glimmer of oil lamps marks the living world. But here, at the edge of the cremation ground, light dies quickly. The ground beneath your feet is soft, not from soil, but from years of ash, mingled with bone dust. The air is heavy, with the coppery tang of dried blood and the acrid bite of burnt wood. You feel it in your lungs, thick, unnatural, almost sentient. Somewhere in the darkness, you hear the faint hiss of the river. But tonight, it feels more like a whisper. A figure emerges from the shadows, the Tantric. His body is draped in a black shawl, his hair wild, his forehead streaked with vermilion and ash. In one hand, he carries a bundle wrapped in red cloth. In the other, a human femur, polished smooth, carved with strange symbols. The bundle is laid gently in the center of the cremation ground. The cloth is unwrapped. A young man's body lies inside, pale, stiff, his eyes half open, clouded in death. His lips are tinged blue. The body is fresh. The warmth of life has only recently left it. The Tantric kneels and begins to draw a circle around the corpse with a mixture of vermilion powder, human ash, and drops of his own blood. The symbols he inscribes inside it are not familiar. Curves and lines that seem to twist unnaturally, even as you look at them. The circle is more than a boundary. It is a prison for whatever will be called tonight. The Tantric removes his shawl, revealing a body smeared in black paste, streaked with crimson lines. He climbs onto the corpse and sits cross-legged on its chest. His bare feet press into the cold ribs beneath him. His eyes lock with the corpse's, staring into the lifeless gaze without blinking. The mantra starts low, almost like a hum. Om Hrim Shrim Kleem Aim Prete Bhuta Pishacha Samipe. The sound grows deeper, vibrating in the ground beneath you. The air begins to change, colder, denser. You feel the tiny hairs on your arms rise. The Tantric rocks slowly forward and back, never breaking eye contact with the corpse. His voice grows faster, louder, more urgent. Minutes pass. Then the corpse twitches. A hand curls slightly, the fingers stiff. The jaw slackens, then tightens again. You tell yourself it's just muscle reflex, but deep down, you know better. The Tantric does not flinch. He begins a second mantra, one so fast you can barely catch the words. His voice is no longer alone. There's an echo, deeper, guttural, coming from the corpse itself. The corpse's lips begin to move. At first, it's just a faint murmur, but then words form, in a language you don't understand. The tantric nods, as if listening to a familiar story. He responds in the same strange tongue. Those who know say that this is the moment of contact, when the dead soul is forced to reveal its secrets. The location of hidden treasures, the names of enemies, the knowledge of forbidden magic. But there is a danger. If the tantric falters, if his concentration breaks, the spirit can turn on him, flooding into his body, seizing control. His soul will be trapped in the corpse, while the spirit wears his flesh like a mask. Locals whisper of failed practitioners found days later, lifeless, sitting on their own corpse, eyes wide open, mouths frozen mid-scream. The tantric suddenly inhales sharply, his back arching. Then, as quickly as it began, the corpse falls still. The tantric climbs off, muttering a final mantra as he sprinkles holy water over the body. The circle is erased with the femur bone. The ritual is complete. Until you notice the corpse's eyes. They are no longer clouded and dead. They are clear, sharp, and they are watching you. It is the hour just before dawn. The forest is still and damp, its floor thick with fallen leaves that muffle every footstep. You have been walking for over an hour, following a single oil lamp swinging from the hand of a silent guide. Suddenly, the trees open into a clearing. There it stands, the shrine of Chinnamasta. The structure is small, almost suffocated by the surrounding jungle, its walls covered in moss and blackened by centuries of smoke. The air here feels heavier, warmer, as if you've stepped into a space cut off from the rest of the world. The entrance is marked by a carved stone image, a headless woman, her severed head held in one hand, streams of blood spurting from her neck into the mouths of her attendants. Her expression is calm, almost serene. In tantric tradition, Chinnamasta is not a goddess for the faint-hearted. She represents life from death, self-sacrifice, and the raw, unstoppable force of creation and destruction intertwined. To invoke her is to court madness and perhaps enlightenment in the same breath. Practitioners believe that through her blood, one can see visions of the future, unlock hidden strength, or even bend another's will. But they also say she takes her payment in dreams and sanity. Inside the shrine, the air is thick with incense, smoke swirling around a low altar. The floor is smeared with dried vermilion and something darker, crusted and flaking. Around the altar, 12 devotees kneel in a perfect circle, their heads bowed, eyes closed. At the center stands the high priest, draped in crimson silk, his forehead marked with a trident of blood. In his hands is a long, curved knife, the kind used for animal sacrifice. In front of him, tethered to a wooden post, is a black goat. Its eyes are wide, darting from shadow to shadow. The animal seems to know. The priest raises the blade and begins to chant, Om Hrim Vajra Vairochaniye Hom Hom Pat Swaha. The chant grows faster, louder, the devotees swaying in unison. The smell of incense thickens until you can taste it. Then, one swift motion. The goat's throat is cut clean. The blood gushes into a bronze vessel, steaming in the cool air. The sound is shockingly loud, a warm, wet splatter echoing in the stone room. The vessel is carried to the altar, where the priest mixes the fresh blood with rice wine and powdered herbs known only to the inner circle. The mixture turns a deep, almost black red. The priest dips his fingers into the liquid and paints a symbol on his own chest, a circle with 3 radiating lines, representing the streams of blood from the goddess's severed neck. The devotees begin to drink from the vessel in turn, each taking a slow, deliberate sip. The liquid stains their lips crimson, drips down their chins. Their eyes close as they rock gently, murmuring fragments of the mantra. Halfway around the circle, the air changes. The smoke seems to grow denser, the shadows deeper. You feel a pressure in your skull, like hands pressing from the inside. Some of the devotees begin to shake violently. One lets out a sharp gasp. Her eyes fly open, pupils dilated, but she is no longer looking at the room. She is staring at something only she can see. The priest drinks last. As he tips the vessel to his lips, a cold wind sweeps through the shrine. Impossible in this still jungle air. The flames of the oil lamps gutter, stretching shadows across the walls. And then you see her. She is standing behind the priest. A headless woman in a flowing red sari, her skin pale as bone, her severed head in her left hand. From the stump of her neck, 3 jets of blood arc into the air and into the mouths of her 2 attendants. Her head turns in her hand, eyes locking onto yours. Her lips curve into the faintest smile. The vision vanishes as quickly as it came. The priest lets the empty vessel fall to the ground, its metallic clang breaking the trance. The devotees collapse, breathing hard, some laughing, some weeping. Later, you will hear that those who see Chinnamasta in the ritual are marked. For weeks afterward, they dream of her, standing at the foot of their bed, holding her head, the streams of blood flowing endlessly, waiting. The road to the ritual site is little more than a path of cracked stones overgrown with weeds. It leads to the crumbling remains of a 9th century temple hidden in a dry valley. The wind here has a strange quality. It doesn't whistle or rustle. It hums, low and constant, like the faint vibration of a drum far away. Half of the temple's roof has collapsed, exposing a jagged mouth of stone to the sky. The pillars that remain are carved with eroded figures of Shiva in his terrifying Bhairava form, fanged, wild-haired, holding a skull cup in one hand. Inside, the floor is littered with animal bones, dried flowers, and stains that are not entirely from time. The Kapalikas, literally skull bearers, are one of the most extreme sects of Shaivite tantrics. They believe that ultimate truth comes from rejecting all worldly purity and embracing death as the purest state. Their sacred object is the Kapala, a human skull used as a vessel in worship. To them, it is not a symbol. It is a living link to the spirit of the one who once wore it. Tonight's ritual begins with the unveiling of a skull. It is placed in the center of the cracked stone floor on a small altar of blackened wood. Its surface is polished until it gleams in the firelight. Carved into its forehead is a trident symbol, inlaid with vermilion paste and what looks disturbingly like dried blood. Around the base of the skull, 5 small clay lamps flicker, casting jagged shadows on the temple walls. The Kapalika priest is an imposing figure, tall, gaunt, draped in a patchwork robe of crimson and black. His face is smeared with white ash in the pattern of a skull, his lips painted red. Around his neck dangles a garland, not of flowers, but of finger bones. In one hand, he carries a large brass bowl. The smell from it is overpowering, a sharp metallic tang that clings to the back of your throat. Inside is a mixture of rice wine, crushed herbs, and fresh animal blood. The liquid is poured into the skull until it brims. The priest kneels before the skull, bowing his head low until it touches the altar. He begins to chant, Om Namo Bhairava, Kapale Stita, Swaha. His voice is deep, resonant, filling the ruined temple. The chant is taken up by the circle of followers around him. A dozen men and women, each swaying in rhythm, eyes half closed. The smoke from the lamps thickens, rising in slow, curling trails. You notice that the air has grown warmer, almost stifling, though no fire burns nearby. The priest lifts the skull in both hands, holding it high. His eyes roll back until only the whites show. It is then you hear it, a faint sound, almost like breathing, coming From the skull itself, at first it's subtle, but with each passing moment it grows, a soft whisper that seems to speak directly into your ear, though no one else reacts. The Kapalikas believe this is the voice of the skull's owner, answering the call of the ritual. The priest drinks first, tilting the skull so the dark liquid runs into his mouth and down his chin. He shudders violently, then lets out a long, slow exhale that sounds more like a sigh of pleasure than relief. The skull is passed to the followers, each taking a sip. Some smile faintly, others weep silently. One begins to laugh, high and thin, before collapsing in a heap, still trembling. They believe that drinking from the skull binds them to the spirit within, allowing them to borrow its strength or knowledge. But the bond works both ways. The spirit may also borrow from them. Not every skull is taken from a grave. Some are prepared, chosen from a living person, marked for sacrifice, their death ritualized, so the skull can be made sacred. Tonight's skull, the priest claims, came from a man who had been a rival tantric, killed during a black moon and buried in a secret forest grove. His spirit, he says, still hungers. The skull is placed back on the altar. The chanting stops abruptly. For a moment, the only sound is the hum of the wind outside. Then, a sound from the skull. 3 sharp clicks, like teeth snapping shut. The lamps flicker once, twice, and go out. You are left in darkness. And in the dark, you swear you feel something cold and bony brush your cheek. The Vindhya Mountains stretch across central India like the spine of some ancient sleeping beast. Their forests are thick and twisted, full of shadows that seem to move when you're not looking. It is the black hour, the final, deepest part of the night, just before the first thread of dawn. The air here is cold and still, the silence so total that you can hear your own heartbeat in your ears. Tonight, the forest clearing ahead will become the stage for a ritual that few have seen and lived to describe. Bhoot sadhana, the summoning and binding of a restless ghost. The tantric arrives barefoot, his steps soundless. He is draped in a long, tattered robe, black as pitch, stitched with charms of bone, teeth, and scraps of red cloth. His hair is matted with oil and ash, his skin smeared in streaks of blood. Slung across his shoulder is a small, leather satchel. When he kneels in the center of the clearing, he empties it carefully onto the earth. Small clay bowls of black ash, a brass dagger with a handle carved into a grinning skull, 3 long, thin candles made from tallow, and a length of red thread. From the trees, 2 silent figures emerge, dragging someone between them. It is a young man, barefoot, his wrists bound. His eyes are glazed from the drug slipped into his drink hours earlier. The victim is laid in the center of a large circle scratched into the earth, his chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. The tantric leans over him, painting symbols across his skin with a mixture of blood and ash. Some of the symbols you recognize, tridents, circles, but others are jagged and alien, their shapes making your eyes water if you stare too long. Around the victim, the tantric arranges a ring of human bones, femurs, ribs, and skull fragments, connected by the red thread. This will be the boundary. Once the ghost is inside, it cannot leave unless the tantric allows it. The 3 tallow candles are placed at equal points around the circle, their flames small and trembling. The shadows they cast seem too large, too quick, as if something unseen is moving in time with them. The tantric takes his place at the victim's feet. He raises both arms and begins to chant, Om Kreem Bhuta Avahaya, Om Kreem Bhuta Avahaya. The chant is rhythmic, hypnotic. The air inside the circle begins to feel heavier, pressing down like water. You taste metal on your tongue. Somewhere beyond the trees, an answering sound comes, faint at first, then louder. The snap of branches, the crunch of unseen footsteps. The victim stirs. His head jerks to the side. His breathing changes, faster, shallower, then stops altogether for a moment before resuming with a deep, unnatural hiss. The tantric's voice grows louder, more urgent. The candle's flames bend inward toward the victim. Then the smell hits you, rot, wet earth, and something like burnt hair. The young man's eyes fly open, but they are no longer his. The pupils have widened to cover almost the entire eye, black and shining, reflecting no light. When he speaks, it is in a voice that is not his own, a deep, echoing tone that seems to come from somewhere behind you, yet you hear it in your bones. Why have you called me? The tantric reaches for the brass dagger and slices the air above the victim's body in quick, sharp gestures, each cut sealing the ghost into the circle. He holds up a small iron amulet, chanting a different mantra now, one meant to trap the spirit inside the metal. But the ghost resists. The victim's body convulses violently, his back arching, his wrists twisting against the bindings. His jaw unhinges far wider than it should. The shadows beyond the candles begin to take shape, thin, spindly limbs, moving with insect-like precision. There is a sound like a crack of thunder, though the sky is clear. One of the candles blows out. The ghost laughs, a shrill, distorted sound that makes your stomach knot. The victim's head whips toward the tantric, and in a blur of movement, something invisible slams into him, throwing him backward. The red thread snaps. The bones scatter. The victim sits up slowly. His mouth opens, wider, wider, until the skin at the corners tears. His voice is now two voices layered together. You called me. Now I stay. He turns toward you, and in that moment, you know. The ghost is no longer bound. It is free, and it has chosen its next vessel. The candles go out. The forest returns to silence. Somewhere in the darkness, footsteps are approaching. These were the 5 most feared tantric rituals in India. Rituals whispered about in temple courtyards, in cremation grounds, in back rooms where no sunlight reaches. There are more doors to open, more rituals, more things that shouldn't be seen. ... Share your horror story and don't forget to subscribe AI Storytelling YTS.